as a professional hairstylist, myself and millions of others have been lying to you, and it could be ruining your hair. I get it, that sounds really dramatic, but it's not totally wrong though. Look, I'm not saying that your stylist is doing it on purpose, but the info I'm about to reveal to you are things that we've been taught working in the hair industry that we teach clients because, well, we have your best interests in mind. Now, trust me, I am guilty of most of these things, but at the end of the day, I think the most important thing that we can do as stylists is to recognize that we need to constantly be learning. And that means being open to considering views that completely contrast the social norms or what we've always been taught. So that's what I want this video to be. I'm gonna share some information with you that I've learned, and then I'll give you my take on it, but I really want you to join in the conversation in the comments with your own insight or opinions. Now, also, I'm gonna be linking all of the videos and the articles that I reference in this video in the description below so that you can check them out if you want. I feel like I am opening Pandora's box here. Let the games begin. Okay, number 1, shampooing every day is bad for your hair. Look, I was always taught that only in America do we think it's normal to shampoo daily. Where like most other places think it's much more normal to shampoo far less often. And while that may be true, I always thought and explained this to clients that shampooing daily is actually just bad for your hair, and the whole wash daily agenda is simply marketing to sell more products. But then I saw this from Abbey Young. She's a trichologist, which is basically a hair scientist that specializes in hair health and hair loss.
Have a much better understanding of how important a healthy scalp is in promoting healthy hair growth. And that one of the most important ways to maintain a healthy scalp is to wash it frequently. Hair training is not real. That is a myth that we have all been fed for years and years and years. I believed it. Oh my God, I totally believed it. I had videos on how to train your hair. Newsflash, you can't.
Oh, and side note, if you don't know what hair training is, hair training or scalp training is the act of training your hair to only need to be washed once a week or far less. So the thinking is that additives and conventional shampoos dry your hair out. So by cutting back on washing your hair, it'll get back to its natural, kind of more healthy self.
I actually posted an entire video talking about all of the science that I discovered at one point that really helps to illustrate why it's not possible to train your hair. I think that that was like one of the most eye-opening things for me to discover. But even if hair training was somehow possible, you still would want to wash your scalp relatively frequently to maintain optimal health in order to allow for optimal healthy hair growth. Because not doing that leads to a buildup of things that lead to an unhealthy scalp and subsequently unhealthy hair growth. Like just for one example, yeast. An overgrowth of yeast is directly linked to a lot of different scalp conditions, and one of the best ways to mitigate that is to wash as frequently as possible.
Now, she goes on in that video to explain a lot more, so I would definitely recommend that you check that video out. Again, it's linked in the description. But Abbey isn't the only one that feels this way. In an article from Healthline, Dr. Trevor Evans, cosmetic chemist and director of research at TPI Princeton, claimed that hair training is just another beauty trend backed by absolutely no scientific data. He said, there's this thought process that sebum is a natural conditioner, but it's being produced all the time. So left to run to its own extent, it'll build up and make your hair feel kind of oily. It's part of the natural physiology of your body, so you can't really impact that. So what's my take?
Justin's take on the hair lies we believe. He says trust in yourself, let your hair just breathe.
Honestly, I think I land a little bit in the middle on this. I think the key takeaway here isn't that you have to shampoo daily, but that you can if that makes you feel better and works better for your hair and scalp. But I think also understand that scalp health is super important, but recognizing that not everyone's scalp requires the same approach and that your scalp needs probably gonna change is key. But what do you think? Comment below, let me know. Hop into the conversation now, don't wait. All right, number 2, you need to take hair vitamin supplements or use products like minoxidil to solve hair thinning/loss. As a stylist, one of my very first questions to any client that is experiencing hair loss is to ask them if they've had their blood work done recently. I immediately start to try to figure out if there are some different medications or new stresses in their life or other internal causes that we can address to help the hair loss concern. I've actually done handfuls of videos on this channel about that topic. But then it occurred to me the other day that, wait a minute, well, myself and many others have been so focused on that part of it that we're overlooking the other massive player in what causes hair loss: physical stress on the hair. See, I think the biggest misconception here is that all thinning or hair loss stems from internal concerns. Now, in those cases, there are situations where minoxidil or other vitamins and nutrients can promote hair growth. However, I think it's really easy to overlook that damage and stress that comes from stuff like the styling process, brushes, chemical processes, friction, and go on, also play a really large role, especially as we age, where in many cases our hair actually gets a bit weaker and more prone to that kind of damage during a time in our lives when many of us are also turning to more chemical processes like color to cover the gray or whatever you want to do, like turn back the clock. So what's my take?
Justin's take, we don't need those tricks.
If your hair is thinning, look at it from all angles. Is it falling out from the scalp, or is it breaking off at the ends or mid-shaft, or is it a combination of both? Then address all of it, not just part of it. But also have reasonable expectations. For instance, like if you're trying to take something that is going to treat the internal cause of your hair loss, but your main actual cause of hair loss is from an external source like breakage, it's simply not gonna give you the results that you're wanting. Okay, really quick, if you're getting any value from this, do me a huge favor and make sure to go ahead and subscribe and share this with anyone you think might need this information. Also, I have a bonus hair fact at the end of the video that I've been wrong about for basically my entire 30-year career. So you're gonna wanna stick around for that one. I'm awesome. How many times have you heard from your stylist or friends or someone online that you need to be careful about using clarifying shampoos too often? Number 3, deep cleansing shampoos are really harsh and can be really damaging. Once a week or less is often the best. Shoot, you may have heard that from me since I've been personally preaching this to clients for decades. I say it all the time. That is though, and until I watched this.
Can you use a clarifying shampoo every wash? Similar to the question of how often you should just shampoo period in a given week, I would say the same thing applies to clarifying. Totally a person by person basis. It just depends on how oily your scalp is, how much buildup you have, and what you feel that you need. I think there used to be a lot more concern or hesitation around clarifying often because clarifying shampoos used to just be more harsh on the hair. But now formulations have evolved so much, and so many clarifying shampoos do an amazing job at getting rid of everything, but without that harsh, stripped feeling. So all the clarifying shampoos I recommended, I don't have an issue with my hair feeling like straw after, so I have no issue using those often. There's no reason you can't use a clarifying shampoo every wash.
This is the perfect one of those examples that it's something that I learned from decades ago because it was true decades ago, but nowadays things are just changing. And if we don't pay attention to the fact that technology and all of this stuff can change, then we're gonna get lost in thinking the same thing that we've always thought that just flat out might not be true. So, my take on this.
Justin's take on the hair lies we believe.
I honestly feel like Abbey touched on something that basically is the premise of this entire video. When it comes to most things, technology changes, and sometimes that can change fact into fiction. Like as I mentioned before, we should actively be seeking new insights often. So should you run out and start using clarifying shampoo every single day? I wouldn't say so. But I would say that if you're using a shampoo that uses verbiage like clarifying every time that you shampoo and your hair feels great, then there's nothing wrong with that. And if you're using a gentle shampoo and you never feel like your hair gets quite clean enough, or your scalp feels super oily really quickly, maybe using a clarifying shampoo a little more often would be a good option for you. The key, I think, is to just make sure that the shampoo that you're using isn't making your hair feel like totally squeaky clean, because honestly, that can be a little bit too stripping. I'm gonna go ahead and link some clarifying shampoos in the description, just in case you're looking for some options. All right, number 4, only high-end salon products work well. How many times have you heard you get what you pay for? I remember about 20 years ago, there was a time in the salon where at least a few times per week, I would have a client sit in my chair that had the most horrible feeling to their hair. There was like so much wax in it that it felt like each individual hair strand was a super thin, tiny little candle, and there were like hundreds of thousands of these little candles growing out of their scalp. Now, every time I asked what they were using, they'd respond with some sort of product or shampoo from the drugstore. naturally, from then on, I believe that if you want a product to work well, you had to pay the price. But then about 10 years ago, I also learned that a very large beauty brand that we will remain nameless right now because I don't want to get sued or something, had two individual hair product lines that basically were the same product, just marketed differently. And one was 4 times the cost, and a few of the cheaper products I found to actually be much better. Now, I've also done a few videos on this channel where I've tested different products. I'll link one of those in the pinned comment so that you can check it out. But honestly, I found that the budget products actually many times outperformed some of the more luxury products. I'll go ahead and make sure that I link some budget-friendly products in the description as well so that you can check those out. So, my take, don't just use a product because it's luxury. Do a little research online and give some of the budget products a try. You may save some cash and get better results. 5, heat is destroying your hair. I think we all know that heat is damaging, right? So obviously, allowing your hair to air dry is a much less damaging option. Okay, now what if I told you that recently I read a scientific study that came to, well, this conclusion. Although using a hairdryer causes more surface damage than natural drying, using a hairdryer at a distance of 15 centimeters with continuous motion causes less damage than drying hair naturally. What? Dude. So the idea is this. Our hair swells around 30% when it's wet. That water breaks down the hydrogen bonds in our hair, which leaves it heavy, saturated, and in its weakest state. The longer we leave our hair at its heaviest weight and in its weakest state, we create kind of the perfect environment for stress and damage. So my take.
Justin's here to tell you you got what it takes.
Honestly, this is legitimately a tough one. Because look, both of these can cause damage. But I think the main thing that we need to recognize here is that we aren't talking about heat in general so much, but in heat during the drying process. So for many of us, the styling process, using flat irons, etc., comes after the hair is mostly dry. So to me, I think you do what works best for your schedule. If blow drying your hair is more convenient for you and your schedule, great. Do that. But maybe try using a cooler temperature and see if that might work for you. If air drying, on the other hand, is the most convenient for you and you can get the results that you want, then do that. For me, this just makes me less apt to choose one of these options based simply on it being better or worse for the hair. But honestly, I am really super curious. I want to know, what do you think about this one? You've got to comment. You've got to let me know because I know that this is the hottest take. So what you got? Comment below. Okay, I told you there's gonna be a bonus. Here it is, and it's a big one. Remember the last time that you were trying to grow your hair longer? What did your stylist tell you? Go ahead, comment. I'll wait.
Don't worry, I'll wait.
Let me guess. You need to get regular trims to help it grow. Look, I'm a stylist, and that whole idea used to legitimately frustrate the shit out of me. I would quickly jump on my little pedestal and start preaching about how your hair grows from your scalp, not from your ends, and therefore the idea that trimming the ends would make it grow quicker from the scalp was stupid. Here's where I was wrong. I was thinking all about the scalp and not about the fact that the ends need to be strong enough to maintain the growth. So therefore, a little bit of both. My take.
Justin's take on the hair life we believe.
Learning to be a little bit more humble and thinking a bit deeper into this whole subject. When should you get your hair trimmed for maximum growth? Well, let's put it this way. Your hair grows about 1/4 to 1/2 inch per month. So my thought before was always, and this is what I told clients, if you go in once per month and get a trim and your stylist trims off 1/4 to 1/2 inch, it's never gonna get any longer. But realizing that healthy ends do play a big role, I would allow your hair to go as long as you can, but pay attention to the ends. If you start seeing a lot of damage, it's likely time to get in for a trim. Now, if you're looking for a very specific time frame, then maybe try it every 8 weeks or so, or maybe 12 weeks. And just tell them to take as little as possible from the ends, just to make them healthy so that you can grow it longer. But I would really wanna know, like I said before, I want this to be a conversation. So what are your thoughts on all this? Because some of these, I honestly don't necessarily think are right or wrong. I think there's a little bit of leeway on this. So I wanna know where you stand. Go ahead and comment below, and otherwise, if you like this video, well, go check out this video and I'll see you over there. Take care. I feel like it's coming in the comments for me. Don't come for me. I'm not saying anything's wrong. I'm just giving you info, okay? Mailman, right? Don't get the mailman guy. Doesn't even make sense. I'm wearing blue though, so I guess that works.
Justin's take, we don't need those tricks. Don't need those tricks. Be fearless, own your unique mix. Own your unique mix.